If this bell rings in the forest, it's already too late. In June 2019, Bella, an 18-year-old college student, had just finished her first year and returned home for the summer. Her family lived just outside a small mountain town in France, surrounded by a vast forest. She'd grown up exploring those woods, alone, with her father or other family members, so she knew the terrain like the back of her hand. Her favorite spot was a man-made lake tucked deep in the forest. It wasn't large, but it was peaceful, scenic, and private. Exactly the kind of place she loved. To get there, she'd drive a few miles from her house, pull off on the shoulder of a quiet road, and step straight into the trees. There was no sign, no trail marker, just a hidden path her family had discovered years ago. After pushing through a patch of underbrush, she'd reach a small clearing and spot a stream ahead. To the left of it, a rough trail, more of an animal path than anything else, ran alongside the water. She'd follow this path for 15 or 20 minutes until it veered sharply left, away from the stream. From there, she'd leave the trail and continue along the stream itself, walking directly north for about an hour. Sometimes she'd walk on the banks, other times she'd step across rocks in the water. Eventually, the stream met a river running east to west. At that junction, she'd turn left, follow the river for another 20 minutes, and finally arrive at the lake. She'd sit on a rock, take in the view, listen to the birds and insects, and stay as long as she wanted before heading back the same way. Each leg of the trip, car to lake or lake to car, took around 2 hours. Part of what made this place special was how secluded it felt. Outside of her family, she had never seen another person in the forest or near the lake. It felt like hers. So, when she came home that June, one of the first things she wanted to do was return to the lake. One morning she woke up early, got in her car, and drove out to the same hidden pull-off. She parked, stepped into the trees, and followed the usual route, past the stream, along the animal path, then deeper into the forest. About 30 minutes in, maybe a mile or two from the river, she suddenly stopped. Somewhere ahead, faint and distant, she heard a bell, a single, clear chime. She froze. There was never anyone out here. Ever. She waited, listening. Then the bell rang again, not once, but over and over, irregular, unsteady, like someone casually shaking it. Her mind raced. Maybe a lost dog with a bell on its collar? But the sound was too loud, too sharp. Could it be a bell inside a crate, floating down the river and hitting rocks? That didn't make much sense either. Despite the strange sound, Bella wasn't scared, just curious. The bell seemed to be coming from the direction she was already heading, so she kept walking, hoping to find out what was making the noise. For a few minutes she followed the stream, listening closely. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the bell stopped. The silence was jarring. She froze. No more ringing. Just the usual sounds of birds, leaves, wind. It was like the forest had absorbed the noise. She stood still, waiting, expecting it to return. But it didn't. She had no explanation for it. But she didn't feel afraid. Not yet. It was probably something benign, she told herself. A bird startled a wind chime. A bell collar on a stray animal. Something explainable. She moved on. 10 or 15 minutes later, still walking along the stream, maybe half a mile from the river, she noticed something ahead on the left side of the bank. At first, it looked like a rock or a lump of fur. Some animal, maybe. As she got closer, she saw it was a beaver. Dead. Headless. That wasn't unusual in itself. This was a wild forest after all. But the way it had died was. The neck wasn't torn or chewed. It was clean. A straight surgical cut, as if someone had used a knife. And the rest of the body was untouched. Predators didn't kill like that. Bella crouched down, inspecting it. No smell. The body was still limp. It hadn't been dead long, probably within the hour. Whoever or whatever had done this might still be nearby. And now the bell, which had seemed strange but meaningless, suddenly didn't feel so random. It had come from roughly this same area. She stood up and spun around, scanning the trees. No one, no movement. Just trees and fog and rain. Her heart was starting to pound. She could feel panic crawling into her chest, but she forced herself to breathe. "Calm down," she told herself. "It's daylight. I've been coming here my whole life. I've never had a problem. Nothing's going to happen." So she stepped over the beaver and kept walking. Eventually, she reached the river, turned left, and followed it west. After 20 minutes, she made it to the lake. The view was still beautiful, even under gray skies. She stayed a while, trying to shake the unease, then turned back and retraced her steps. Past the beaver, back to her car, and home. A week later, bored at home, Bella decided to return. She left around 6 p.m., told her parents where she was going, and drove to the pull-off. Sunset was at 9. She knew she was cutting it close, but figured she had time for a quick visit. She followed the same path, past the stream, onto the animal trail, then north along the stream. But as she walked, she began to hear thunder. The sky was darkening, faster than sunset should have allowed. A storm was coming in. Still, she pressed on, determined to reach the lake. She started jogging. Raindrops began falling almost immediately. By the time she passed the beaver's body, still untouched, the rain was heavy. 15 minutes later, she reached the river, now in full downpour. She turned west toward the lake, but a couple minutes in, she stopped. She looked at her watch. It was past 8. If she turned around now, she'd barely make it out before dark. If she kept going, she'd be in the woods, in the storm, well past nightfall. She was cold, wet, and something about today just felt off. So she turned around. She headed back along the river, then back to the stream. Visibility was terrible. She kept her eyes down, careful not to trip, stepping from rock to mud, trying to move fast, but stay safe. About 15 minutes later, something hit her in the head. Startled, she looked up and froze. Hanging from a tree branch just above her was the beaver, but it wasn't on the ground anymore. It was dangling from a rope, swinging slightly in the wind, and its head, once missing, had been stitched to its own front paws, so it looked like the beaver was holding its own head. Bella stumbled back, gagging. She slapped at her hair in panic, trying to wipe away anything that might have come from the corpse. Then she froze again. She'd passed the beaver's body earlier on her way in. It had still been on the ground. That meant someone had done this, moved it, strung it up, stitched its head, in the last half hour. That someone was still out here. She spun around, scanning the trees, rain blurring her vision. But she saw nothing. Just forest. Deep and dark and closing in. She was at least an hour from her car. Even if she ran. And now, the panic rain hammered the forest. Bella spun in every direction, eyes scanning the dark, dripping trees. Nothing. Just shadows and noise in trees. But someone had been there. Someone had hung that beaver. Someone had stitched its head to its paws. And now they were gone. Or watching. She was still at least an hour from her car. Even running. Panic surged. But she forced herself to breathe. Don't run. Don't turn this into a nightmare. Out loud to steady herself, she whispered, "Just walk. Get out of here. Walk." She stepped around the dangling corpse and started moving quickly down the stream, back toward the road. But as soon as she passed it, the hairs on her neck stood up. She heard something. Movement. Behind her. She didn't look. She couldn't. It's just an animal, she told herself. A deer. Nothing. But her steps picked up. And before she could stop herself, she was running. Sprinting. Full tilt down the muddy, uneven trail, away from that awful thing and whatever was stalking the woods behind it. After 5 or 6 minutes, lungs burning, legs shaking, she staggered to a stop. Bent over, gasping for air, she still hadn't looked back. Then she heard it. The bell. That same eerie, sporadic chime, just like last week. Not rhythmic, not musical. Just chaos. Loud enough to cut through the rain and hit her like a punch. She turned her head trying to locate it, but her mind was too overloaded to process anything clearly. The sound felt like it was everywhere. Behind her. Beside her. Maybe even above. and then she ran again. Blind, tripping, slipping on the wet rocks and slick mud. The bell echoed all around her now, and with it, something else. Snapping branches, crunching leaves, heavy footsteps in the dark. Something was following her. She grabbed her phone, yanked it from her pocket with shaking hands, and dialed her dad. He picked up on the first ring. "Dad," she sobbed. "Come get me. Please come get me. Meet me where the trail splits, where the stream goes straight. There's someone in the woods. I can't. Dad, please." He didn't ask questions. He just heard her voice, raw, shaking, terrified, and said, "Stay on the line, we're coming." Her parents flew out the door. Her mom jumped in the passenger seat while her dad drove like a man possessed, speeding through the rain to the shoulder of the road. They pulled up behind Bella's car and ran straight into the woods, with the sound of the bell now faintly audible in the distance. And through the phone, their daughter was still on the line, crying, screaming, the bell chiming in the background like a warning. They ran, fast, up the stream toward her. Back in the forest, Bella was near collapse. She had been running for nearly 20 minutes. Her legs were done. Her breath came in shallow, broken gasps. She couldn't cry anymore. She couldn't even scream. And the bell, oh God, the bell was getting louder. Closer. It was right behind her. Branches cracked. Something heavy was closing in. She could feel it, not just hear it. The air behind her felt wrong, like it had weight. Like something awful was about to reach out and touch her. She was still too far from her parents. 10 minutes, maybe more. She couldn't make it. And so, in complete exhaustion and defeat, Bella finally stopped. The forest felt like it held its breath. She turned. Slowly. Shaking, drenched, terrified, she turned to face whatever it was that had followed her from the street. Bella could barely breathe. Drenched, trembling, her body on the edge of collapse. She slowly turned around. She was standing just beyond a small clearing she'd run past without noticing. Moonlight filtered through a break in the trees, casting a dim glow over the open space, maybe 50 feet wide. The forest was still, as if even the rain was holding its breath. At first, she saw nothing. Then something stepped into the clearing. It was tall, wrongly tall. A dark figure, humanoid in shape, but too slender, too long. With each slow, deliberate step, a bell hanging at its waist rang sharply. Loud, sudden, and violent, like metal breaking silence. Bella stared, frozen. Her mind couldn't process what she was seeing. It was like time had slowed down. She didn't know what it was. She only knew it was coming straight at her. That's when something in her snapped. A surge of raw, primal adrenaline kicked in. Her body took over. She turned and ran, sprinting faster than she ever had in her life. Behind her, the bell rang with every step the figure took. It was gaining. Faster. Louder. Closer. She screamed out, not even thinking, "I'm on the phone with the police. They're just ahead. They're right here." But the thing didn't stop. Didn't hesitate. It just kept coming. Farther up the stream, Bella's parents had reached the meeting point, the spot where the trail split off. Her mother wanted to wait. Her father couldn't. He could hear his daughter's screams, could hear the bell, could hear her running for her life through the phone. He ran, through the underbrush, through the dark, toward the sound of the bell and his daughter's voice. Moments later, Bella exploded out of the woods like a wild animal and leapt into his arms. He caught her, turned, and without a word ran back the way he came. His wife was waiting, stunned. The three of them ran until they reached the car, slammed the doors, and sped away down the road, shaking and soaked and crying. In the car, none of them spoke right away. Bella was sobbing. Her parents kept repeating the same thing, over and over. "I heard the bell. I heard the bell." It was real. They went straight to the police station. Bella filed a report, doing her best to explain what she'd seen, though her voice broke and her hands wouldn't stop shaking. From there, her parents took her to the hospital. Aside from bruises and scratches, she was physically okay. The next morning, police searched the area. They followed the animal trail. They followed the stream. They looked for signs of anyone living in the woods, any clue of who or what had chased her, but they found nothing. No figure, no footprints, no bell, no signs of struggle. The beaver was gone. No body, no rope, no trace. Bella told them she dropped her handbag during the run. She knew roughly where. The police searched that area too. The bag wasn't there. The only thing they found that didn't belong was a single t-shirt. It was clean, neatly folded, placed beneath a rock, just off the path Bella would have taken while running back. No one could explain it. The official theory: someone mentally unwell, living off the grid in the forest. Maybe they thought Bella was trespassing. Maybe they wanted to scare her off. But Bella couldn't accept that. She knew the difference between being scared and being hunted. She was certain, if her father hadn't found her when he did, she wouldn't have made it out. And one image stayed with her, that first glimpse of the figure as it stepped into the moonlight. The way it moved, its gait, its limbs, wasn't right. It didn't move like a person, more like some large stalking animal, something unnatural pretending to be human. Since that night, no one has reported anything unusual in the forest, but hardly anyone goes in there anymore. Bella doesn't. Her family doesn't. They don't even drive down that stretch of road if they can avoid it. Whatever was in those woods that night is still there, waiting.